Hello, after school teachers. I'm Amanda Reichert, and I'm bringing you some virtual PD to get to know your after school clubs for your school. This virtual PD will be accompanied by some questions along the way to keep track of what you're learning, as well as discussion boards to catch up with other teachers who are learning the same things as you and teaching some of the same classes. This PD will have everything that you need in order to successfully begin and run your after school club. And if you have any questions at the end, you can always let me know. My email is my name, areichert@DASD, or you can catch me on Schoology or Twitter. Today we're going to set you up to do your coding club after school with grades 1 to 2 or grades 3 to 5. For both of these after school clubs, we're going to use a resource called code.org, which I'm hoping you've heard of before. Many of our librarians participated with students across our elementary schools in the Hour of Code last week or last month. And we are going to use this with our kids after school. Alright, we're going to take a walk through how to set up your code.org account so you can get your kids signed on to their accounts. So we're going to go ahead and start by taking a look at our new Schoology course for the Downtown Community Education Foundation After School Clubs. This is where we're going to start collecting information for all of our after school clubs, and as you can see, there is a folder for coding grades 1 to 2 and coding grades 3 to 4. Now both of these have two links in them so far. We're going to be collecting more information, but one of them is code.org, which you need to access, and another is Classroom Screen, which I'll talk about how you can use in a little while. First, we're going to go ahead over to code.org, which I already have set up here, and see at the top right-hand corner, there's a Sign In button, and that's where we're going to click and get you started. Now, many of you do not have accounts yet, but all you need to do is on the right-hand side, click the red Continue with Google button, and you're going to log in and create an account using your school information. So you should already see your name and your Downingtown email address as a Google login option, and that's what you should choose. Now, I already have an account, so I do not have to go any further from this. You may have to do something else to confirm that you have set up the account or add information in, but it pretty much should be just as simple as that, and it takes you to your teacher dashboard, where you're going to have all the information that you need going forward. From your teacher dashboard, I want to take you to the course catalog, which you can see on the upper left-hand corner within this clickable hyperlinked menu. The course catalog is where we're going to go to find the information we need for our students about what they're going to be doing. So here you can see that they have recommended courses already listed out for your kiddos. There's a couple of different options, and I'm going to be giving you a little bit of flexibility in the options that you choose, especially going forward. This is the first time we're running a lot of these coding clubs after school, but once your kids have done it and maybe re-sign up or sign up again, there are going to be some more options for them to do and to play with. So if I look here, there's a few options, one of which is the Computer Science Fundamentals course, which is a really great option, whether you're starting with the 1 to 2 or the 3 to 5 range. This kind of covers all the basics of coding and computer science that students would need in order to go on to learn a little bit more complex coding or use coding for a more hands-on approach later on. Down below, it gives you some more options. It talks about Hour of Code, which a lot of our librarians are already have done and had our students become very familiar with, and it gives you these 3 options for full course catalogs. That's where we're going to sit today. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Learn More for Elementary School, and it brings us to our elementary school course. So here it talks about, you know, what coding is with kids and supports that they have for teachers, but as you scroll down, you're going to find these color-coded courses from A through F, and they have recommended grade levels. This is what I would like for us to use in our after-school clubs with kids. When you assign a course to them and you get them set up, these are the courses that they'll be doing. There are express courses on the bottom, which would be great if you have a student that comes in that's very, very clearly an advanced coder, which doesn't happen frequently, but it could happen. That might be the course for them. Maybe you set something up separately where they do the express course and they're running through all of that content in a shorter period of time. But for most of our kids, this is their first chance getting to code with us here at school and even at home. So we're going to set them up with courses B and courses D accordingly. As we scroll down, we can see those courses in a little bit more depth. Course B right here is where we're going to start for our grades 1 to 2 coding club. And then right below it, course D is where we're going to start with our grades 3 to 5 for their coding club. I'm going to just begin with course B. A lot of the things that we're going to look at, even though they're slightly different, are going to be the same format for both levels. So you'll be setting up this information, whatever course you choose, and it will all look the same. So I'm going to go ahead and hit View Course so we can see what it looks like. And what's really nice is it comes to this course and it gives you a few different choices. First, you go right to the teacher view, which is very succinct and easy to read. It shows you the unplugged lessons, which we're going to talk about, and the actual coding lessons, which the kids are going to do on their own on their iPads. Another thing is over on the right-hand side, you see that teacher panel. You can view what the students see when they log on to this as well. And the kids are going to see almost the same as what you have, but in less detail. So they're going to have this option to look at the unplugged activity that you're going to do, and then of course jump into their actual coding that they're going to do after you're done with these hands-on activities. Now that we've got an idea of what some of these courses are going to look like in general, we're going to actually see how you're going to set up a course for your students. So what I did was I just came back to my dashboard by clicking my dashboard at the top left-hand corner, and I'm going to scroll down and see one of the first sections is Classroom Sections. And this is where I'm going to set up a course for students in my after-school class. You can see I have a couple of things set up for students in my regular classroom, for after-school coding club that I had before, and a test course that I've done. But I'm going to go ahead on the right and click Create a Section for a new class. Here it gives you some options. Now, whether you're teaching 1, 2, and you're teaching 3, 4, 5, I always choose picture logins. I find them to be easy and simple, and there aren't many questions, and we want to reduce the amount of questions that we get from students, of course, by giving them things that are simple and easy to use, especially after school. So I'm going to go ahead and click Picture Logins for my kids as an option, and then you begin creating your section. I'm going to call this one Winter 19 Coding Club because this will be the name of my coding club for those students. If you're doing a coding club maybe for both grades 1 and 2 and grades 3 and 4, maybe you want to just put that information here as well, but you can call it whatever you want. The kids won't see anything different. It's just for your organization. Then you're going to choose their grade. I'm going to start by choosing grade 1 because I'm going to assume I'm creating this for my after school 1 to 2. If you were teaching grades 3 to 5, you choose maybe grade 3 as a start. And then you pick your course. Now this is where you think about the courses we just looked at, an overview. If I'm teaching grades 1 to 2, I'm going to choose course B. If I'm teaching grades 3 to 5, I'll choose course D. But I'm going to go ahead and choose course B for now. And it gives recommended settings. I wouldn't change those. I think they're perfectly fine the way they are. The last two pieces are extras. So it says enable lesson extras. This gives kids an opportunity to do bonus challenges and little things along the way. I'm going to keep that because again it's just one more thing to keep those kids busy after school. And enable pair programming. This means that sometimes maybe a kid comes here after school and their iPad dies. Then they can just jump on with another kid and they can code at the same time, which will be just fine. So I'm going to leave those both as a yes and hit save. Now it adds that new course to my sections below, and it has a couple of pieces of information. It tells me what course I've sent to those students to do and what grade level they're working in, but I have to actually add the kids. Now when you get your class list for your after school club, this is where you're going to go ahead and add kids' names in. When I add kids' names, I always just use their first name and their last initial. So we say John M. could be one of my kids. If he's in grade 1, maybe he's 6 years old. I always just guesstimate. It's not terribly important that they have the actual age in there. And then I always choose preferred term not listed or non-binary, just because we don't need to be sharing all of our information about our students with the internet and with code.org, so I just choose something that's pretty general so that there's no information shared that doesn't need to be. Once I have that kid in there, I can click add, and that student is successfully set up and ready to go in our course. Now here you can see that their age and things that I already put in are there. They have a username that was created for them, which they probably really won't need, and then it shows their picture login password, and I'll show you how to print those out. But a very important thing is when you create your students, you have to click show secret. If you don't click show secret before you print them out, they won't show up, which I think is very odd, but that's just a thing you have to do. Now I added one student by using the information provided already on the screen, but you can add multiple students at once too. So I will go ahead up at the top of this table that they give you. It says add multiple students, and again you could just paste all the kids' names in there. I could have like Janie L, I could have Amanda R, I could have Mandy, I could have all those things listed in there and hit done, and they automatically set them in. But what they don't do is put the age or the gender in there for you. So you have to go back and go ahead and say, oh, this student is 6 years old and I do not want to list their term, and hit save, and they will of course add the student in, click show secret, and you can see their password. Okay, I have all of my students into my course ready to go, and now I'm going to go ahead and get their login information printed out for them. At the bottom here it says login information, and it gives you all of these options to help get your kids onto their coding. Now the first thing you need is their login information for them to have in front of them. Now there's a couple of things you can do. When you click on it, it gives you some options about what you want to do, but you see down below the login cards can be printed. And as what you see right here, this box that has the picture, that is the login card, and that is all students really need. Now what I did for my students this past round was I had a folder and I taped that on the front of their folder so that they could put their activities that we did inside their folder, and they could have their login information on the front. You could print them out on maybe cardstock and laminate them if you want. But whatever you do, I would recommend doing something that's easy to send home with them at the end of that club so that they can take this home and keep coding even when they're not in club with you. So I will go ahead and hit print those login cards, and it will show you what they're going to look like. Give it a moment. And this is what they look like. Now I might make a couple changes, like right now I would want this to be in portrait so that I get 3 cards per page. There we go. And I don't believe you have to print them in color. To be honest, I think that when the kids see the picture, that's really all they need, so you can print them in black and white. Now we're going to head back to our dashboard again to look at that group of kids. So I'm going to go back up to my dashboard, and then back down and select my course for my Winter 2019 Coding Club. Now in here, when you click on it at first, it takes you to progress. You can see where your students are in their coding, which is really helpful along the way to maybe like promote some kids and remind them, hey, you need to get a little bit more coding done today, or just let them go at their own pace. There's no requirement that they finish anything per se. It's just a requirement that they do some coding and they have some fun. When I go back over on these tabs to manage students, you can see those are where my kids were before, and then there is that login information down below. Now a couple of you are probably thinking, well, how am I going to get my kids to the site so that they can start coding? And that is where that classroom screen resource comes in handy. So I already have it up here. Now my classroom screen is set up to show you a couple of things. If you haven't used this resource before, it's fantastic. I use it in my class all the time. But basically down below is a list of options of things that you can do and use, like a clock and a timer, and of course you can pop them on or get rid of them. There's a traffic light if that's something that you need to do to help your students keep track of what they're doing. There's all kinds of things, but one I use all the time is this QR code creator. It's phenomenal. So I can even have more than one QR code up here ready to go. And all I need to do is copy a link and paste it into here, and it creates a QR code automatically that kids can just scan. This is what you'll use to get your kids onto your specific web page so that they can start coding. Now I'm going to go back to my teacher account here where my login information is below. And down here you have some options. So when you created this course originally with these kids, there's an option, of course, for them to sign in with a username, but that's a little complicated and it's unnecessary. We want them to just see their name and then click their password picture and get started. So that will be this link right here. Now I'm going to open up the link so that you can see what it looks like. It says welcome to the coding club, and it has those kids' names, and what's so handy is all they do is they click on their name and then they click on their secret password, which mine it happens to be a wizard, and they sign in. This is where they could say if they were working with a partner that day they could click on that, but of course I'm not working with a partner, so I would just hit sign in, and then I am ready to go on my student page, which actually we viewed earlier today, so that's what you're looking at now. From my dashboard, I can go back down below and see my courses for my kids. I click on the course for my after-school class. I can manage their progress, manage my students, and again, this is where I find that link. It says alternatively share this section's page to sign in with your students, and that is the link that you want them to go to sign in with their picture login. I'm just going to highlight this link, copy it, and paste it into my classroom screen. Hit enter, and you can even see the QR code created automatically, and that's the code the kids will use to sign on to their after-school coding, which is really exciting. A couple little things just to keep in mind. A few teachers are still using the QR code app, which you do not have to use. So give me a moment to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, so I'm looking at my iPad. As you can see, this is my teacher iPad. I apologize if there's a bit of a glare on it. I'm going to do my best to show you what you need to see without that glare interfering. So on iPads, there is a QR app that you can see. It looks like a QR code and it asks you to scan it. The problem with using this app is when you do scan QR codes, they create them inside of that app. So you're viewing web pages or accounts and logins from the actual QR app that you are inside of. What's really nice is now Apple has done a great job of integrating a QR scanner into your actual camera. So you want to make sure to direct your students to use their regular camera. And when you scan a QR code, it's going to give you an option to open it in Safari. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a QR code so you can see. Okay, so here is my app that I would like to use with my iPad. So I'm going to go ahead and open my camera. And I'm going to scan that code. When it grabs the code, which it did grab the code on the screen, it pops up with this notification at the top. That notification says, "Ooh, well, we recognized a QR code. What would you like to do with it? Would you like to open it in Safari?" So you click on that option, open in Safari, and it takes them to the web page on Safari instead of inside of a QR app, which is so much more effective for your students to use. And then they would go ahead and see their names and get themselves coding on their iPads. Now that we've taken care of some of those logistics, let's talk about what you're actually going to do with your kids every day during those 2 hours that you see them. First thing, if I go back to my Schoology course, I've added a little page with the information about what you're going to do with your kids here every day in Coding Club. The first thing you should always do with your kids after school is chillax, and I'm always very honest with my kids. I say to them, after school, you need time to decompress, right? To let go of the day so that you're prepared for whatever is to come. So take 15 minutes, let them eat the snack that you asked them to bring, and make sure that they have time to relax. I know some teachers who just have the kids talk. I always put on Netflix so that they can kind of just stop thinking for a while and sit back and eat and not talk at the same time, because they're going to be doing plenty of talking during activities and stuff during the class. So think about what you want to do after school, but please be sure to give kids some time to just relax for a few minutes. The first hour of the course, you should be doing a hands-on activity, especially with those little kids, those 1 to 2s. And the 3 to 5s, they really like to do hands-on things too. A lot of them are probably going to get to the point where they say, well, why can't we just start coding? But they do need to learn a little bit about the skills of coding before they just jump in and play with it. Once you've done a hands-on activity, you're going to spend the last hour of them doing their self-paced coding. And again, there's no requirement. They can go as fast or as slow as they want or as you want them to. You can have it as structured as today everyone has to get through the first 3 lessons, or everyone work at your own pace. I know with the grades 1 and 2, I would probably have it a little bit more structured and say, today your goal is to do this. With my grades 3 to 5, especially because there's such a wide variety of ages, I would give them a little bit less structure and say, you know, code at your own pace, whatever works best for you. From here, let's head back to code.org and talk about the hands-on activities versus the self-paced coding. So you've already seen the screen that the students will see when they log in. However, I can show that to you again. If we go down to your courses from the dashboard and you see your section and you see the course that you assign them, when you click on that course that you assign them, you get back to that page we viewed in the very, very beginning. Again, this is what your students are going to see. They're going to see the unplugged activity that you're going to do with them, and they're going to see each of the lessons that they'll be doing on their own in their own self-paced. And you can see on the side the lesson name. And the lesson name is usually pretty obvious as to what skill they're working on. Like here, it's sequencing, and sequencing is a really, really important skill in the basics of coding. Let's talk about these unplugged activities. Back in the teacher view, you can see all the lessons that you'll do with your kids, and there happens to be, you can see it better in student, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unplugged lessons. These are those hands-on activities I was talking about before. Unplugged means it's an activity about computer science or about coding or about computers, but it's not plugged into a device. So it gets them hands-on and talking about or writing about or creating or interacting with these ideas, topics, and skills that they need in order to code and program. So let's look at the first one for Course B, Lesson 1, Move It, Move It. If I go off on the side, I'm going to put my teacher panel out of the way. You can see View Lesson Plan. That's what you're going to use. It has everything that you would need. It has all of the preparation materials. It talks about what you would do with them first, a warm-up activity, the activity itself, and then wrapping up by maybe talking or journaling. And again, this is very, very flexible. This first Move It activity talks about how you're going to be debugging teachers' things and playing and moving around. It's a lot of fun to do with those little kids, and it very, very closely relates to what they're going to do in their coding when they get started. There's extended learning if you feel like your kids need a little bit more or you just want to keep them busy longer. And of course, cross-curricular opportunities. That's for if you're doing this in like a classroom setting, which is good to know because you can do things like this with your kids in, let's say, math and science, which would be a great place to integrate coding as well. As a review, here are all the things we talked about in this training video. First, we went through code.org and talked about where you can find the information that you need and how to navigate through the website. Next, we talked about getting signed up using your Google through the Downingtown Area School District. Finally, we found our courses, and we talked about which course to choose and how that information pertains to you and your students. Again, I recommend for grades 1 to 2 starting them in elementary course B, and for grades 3 to 5 starting them in elementary course D, but it is very flexible, so you choose the course you feel is best for your students. We discussed how to add students to your course once you've decided what you think is best. Be sure to click to show their secret password and then print their login information for them. Put that login information in a place or format that works best for you. Print the cards on cardstock and laminate them for students. Paste them or glue or tape them onto a folder for them throughout the weeks, and then make sure that they go home with them so that they can keep coding. Once you have your course set up, you can post your link to your course to your students through a QR code. I recommend using the website Classroom Screen. Makes things quick and easy. Don't forget, students should be scanning their QR codes through the camera app, not the QR code app, so that they can be opening up their QR codes right to Safari and right to the internet. Almost done. We talked about the breakdown for club. When you start club, give the kids some time to relax. Spend the first hour of club on a hands-on, unplugged activity, and the second hour of club on self-paced coding. Last but not least, we talked about where you can find the lesson plans to actually do those activities with kids. We're not going out of our way to make new lessons because Code.org already has them all ready for us. And last but not least, feel free to share your ideas. This is a brand new club, and of course, we're all very happy to be flexible. If you have an activity that's great to use with kids, if you have an idea of what you want to do, feel free to do what you would like, try things out, and then share them with the rest of us so we can try them with our kids too. For more information about this after-school club and other clubs run by Downingtown Community Education Foundation, visit our new Schoology course with the Join link above, or scan the QR code that you see on your screen now.